Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of Smart Money. I'm Surabhi Upadhyay. Balance sheet, income statement coming in from companies, the cash flow statement. Do all of these things leave you in a bit of a bind? Well, worry not, because we are here to make it all very simple and easy for you to understand today. The theme of the show really is just that: how to read a company's financial statements properly and get ready for the earnings season that lies ahead. Well, our guest on the show is Gurmeet Chadha of Complete Circle Investments. Gurmeet, thank you so much for joining in. You know, so many people, especially retail investors, have been writing into us saying, help us understand this better so we make the right investment decision. Your first thoughts on the importance and relevance of a lot of these statements that form a part of the company's financial history.
Hi Surabhi, thank you for having me. Always good to connect. Financial statements, as you rightly pointed out, are essentially three, which is balance sheet, P&L, and cash flow, and annual reports, either which is non-financial. It's a business reflector. It's a way of promoters, management communicating with all the stakeholders, including market participants. So extremely important to understand it, considering the fact that we have had so many instances in India of sharp accountancy leading to unfavorable outcomes as far as the investors are concerned. So it's a business reflector. A certain basics will it's not a sufficient parameter, but it's an important parameter in terms of the filtration involved while selecting companies to invest in.
Okay, got that. Well, you know what, Gurmeet, a lot of market veterans always tell us that don't only look at the quarterly profit and loss statement, start with the balance sheet. So let's begin there. What all goes in a balance sheet? Where does one even find it? If I have to check a company's balance sheet, should I go to the exchange's website? Where do I go and how do I start reading it?
So balance sheet simply should be is a business snapshot of your assets and liability at a given point of time. It's a reflection of how well you are using your resources to run the business and how well you are servicing your obligations. So balance sheet has two components, so the formula for balance sheet is your assets is equal to liability plus shareholder equity. So let me take it one by one. So assets, as the name suggests, are the resources company has, which has economic value. Assets can be divided into essentially two parts. One is your current assets, which are liquid in nature. So your cash, your inventory, your receivables, anything which can be converted to cash. The accounting language says less than 1 year convertibility is essentially your current assets. And then you have non-current or long-term assets, which could include your plant, machinery. There can be some intangible assets, which could be your patents, your copyrights, your goodwill. So these are the asset side of it. The liability, as the name suggests, is the financial obligations of the company. They again are into two parts, which is your current liabilities, which you need to pay on an immediate basis or in the near term. Includes your account payables, your short-term borrowings, your other expenses. And then there are your long-term obligations, which include your long-term borrowings and things where where the liability is more long-term in nature. And then the equation is assets, liability plus shareholder equity. Shareholder equity essentially is the excess you have in terms of servicing you're running your business. So shareholder equity is your initial capital employed, and the retained earnings and the reserves you have created over a period of time.
Okay, so there is the asset side of it, there is the liability side of it, and there is shareholders' equity. Those are three concepts that we have understood. But again, before we get to the practical, explain to us how exactly a balance sheet is structured. And typically, where will I find it? Do I need to go to the company's website? How do I start looking?
Yeah. So you can find it on company website. You can find it on various websites like moneycontrol.com. It's available. So typically companies start with some companies start with assets on the top and liabilities at the bottom, or liabilities and assets at the bottom. So that format can change. From assets, you basically start from most liquid to more long term. Liabilities also you start with something which is near term to long term, right? That's the flow of the balance sheet. So typically, it will start. So let's say if you pick up any company, you can start with, let's say, current assets. Current assets would start with your cash, which will be the first component, followed by your receivables, followed by any account receivables, plus any other income which you have, and then it's followed by long-term assets, which is your plant, machinery, and other assets.
Okay.
Similarly, then you start with current liabilities, which is again, as I said, your short-term obligations. And then you have long-term liabilities, which will include your payables as well as the long-term borrowing obligations you have.
Okay, well, viewers, don't worry, because in the next couple of minutes, we'll actually show you a balance sheet and explain exactly what Gurmeet is talking about. But before we get to that, in general, beyond the balance sheet, there's also P&L, Gurmeet. There is this whole concept of cash flow, which we are told we must look at cash flows before making a long-term investment. So tell us, what are the other important facets of a company's financial record? You're right, Surbhi. You have to look all three in conjunction. So, there's an old saying in stock market that your sales is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash flow is reality. So P&L basically gives you a trend line. It tells you how your revenues are growing, and how much value you are able to add. So if you are able to add, which we define in terms of our operating margins, so it tells you the trend line in terms of, what value addition the company is doing. So if you see consistently revenues picking up, and your margins picking up, which means you are adding enough value. It's like you are putting 100 rupees to work and continuously able to value add and sell your products at 150, 160 over a period of time. That's to me is the first trend line you should watch, in a P&L. Most of the red flags are actually hidden in the expenses and how cute and smart or aggressive you are in terms of how you treat your inventory, capex, etc., which we'll discuss once we pick up practical examples. The practical
cash flow
example
actually measures the gap in terms of, so cash flows exactly measures the gap between your book profit and actual expenses you have incurred, including operations and capital expenditure. So all three, so balance sheet tells you the strength of the company, P&L will tell you the the revenue and the margin trajectory of the company in terms of the progress company has made over a period of time, and cash flow is a counter check whether all those two are reflecting the right picture or not.
Okay. We've got some queries coming in. So let me take the first one. This is a query coming in from Anirudh in Jetty. Let's see if we can pull that theory up. I think he has sent in a question, a recorded question to us. So let's hear what he's asking.
I've been investing in the stock market for a couple of years now, and I've mainly selected stocks based on the recommendations that I've seen on news channels or on select forums on the internet. However, I won't be able to carry out my own assessment of companies from now on before I make an investment decision, and would therefore like you to throw some light on different ratios such as ROE, ROCE, as well as other important ratios that can help in discerning between a good stock and a bad stock.
Okay, all right, Anirudh, thank you for sending in that question. I guess it's a very relevant one for a wide universe of our viewers, Gurmeet, because we keep hearing these terms, right? ROAS, return on assets, a lot of these ratios. So which one do you think is the most important? What's your go-to ratio?
So should be not one, actually, few of them. So I think the first thing you check is on the, financial viability of the enterprise, which can be measured through the debt equity ratio, which is simply your in terms of your, how much debt you own and how much assets you have. So typically we've seen companies, just to give an example, GMR Infra, your debt equity ratio was almost 17, right? So which tells you that very high levels of debt. The second ratio within debt could be your current ratio, which is current assets to current liabilities. So more are your current assets than liabilities, which means that your short-term ability to service your obligations is high. On profitability, there are two metrics which one should track. One is your ROCE, which is return on capital employed. Return on capital employed is nothing but your earnings before interest and tax, right? Divided by your overall capital employed. And capital employed includes equity and debt both. So something like, let's say, a Pidilite or something like a Lever or something like a Colgate, their ROCs are 40, 50, 60, 70%. Great franchises. In fact, if you put a filter on Nifty of 20% ROCE out of some, let's say, 6,000 listed names, you'll probably be left with 400.
Oh, wow, that's
so
a big
ROCE
filter.
is a very important filter. Yeah. So essentially, it tells you that your return on capital is more than your cost of capital, and the difference between the two is the cash flows you are making. So these are 2-3 ratios one can use, elementary in terms of filtering out your investing universe.
Okay, all right. So viewers, that's the theory part of our conversation. We need to take a break and then we come down to practicals. We're going to actually pick up a balance sheet of a nifty company and then tell you how to look for the most important numbers. Welcome back. You are with us on Smart Money, and this week we are gearing you up for the earnings season, so you don't get confused at all. Balance sheets, cash flow statement and the profit and loss statement. We'll tell you how to go through all 3 important statements very, very carefully. So Gurmeet, now let's get down to practical. I think there's no better way of understanding. So what we've done is, along with Gurmeet, is that we've picked up the balance sheet and the cash flow statements of a particular company. This is a nifty company. It's a paint company. So that's enough of a hint. We'll just put the graphics up on the screen as well. And then Gurmeet, help us understand which numbers to look at, because as the graphic will come up, it'll show us that there's this mass jumble of numbers. It's a maze. So tell us where to begin. And this is the balance sheet we're talking about.
Yeah, sure. So, we begin with the Asian Paints balance sheet, which you can see. Let's start with the, the bottom part, which is the current liabilities, right? So, as I told you, liabilities which need to be serviced, below 1 year. So, it will include, if you see, your financial liabilities, your borrowing, your lease, and other obligations. So if you see the total, and if you see the, it's come down from almost 5,200 crores to about 4,400 crores. That tells you that company is managing the working capital very, very effectively. So your current liabilities, which is the immediate payables you need to do, are doing well. Now, if you go a little above, it talks about the non-current liabilities. So non-current liabilities essentially are your long-term borrowings, which anyways was very low for, Asian Paints, and it's come down marginally from, if you see the number there, marginal decrease, but, anyways the number was quite low. Now you go to the asset parts, and this is interesting, and this probably tells you, how strong a franchise it is. Now, if you see its, current assets, and if you look at its breakup, you see the inventory levels, so inventory levels, and this is for last year, so this would cover a bit of, March where the lockdown happened. So the inventory level seems to have marginally, typically gone up. Mm-hmm. And if you see the breakup of the financial assets, right? Mm-hmm. Just see the trade receivables. That's one of the more risky items should be on the balance sheet. Your accounts receivables can have bad debt, especially in downturns. That has come down, right, from substantially. If you see the cash equivalents, the company's cash position, that's gone up.
Sure.
Right? If you see the so overall balances with banks. So if you look at all the current assets, they have remained steady at, let's say, about 7,600 crores.
Okay.
Right. If you see the number, and if you add long-term assets which the company has, put together, you are at about 16,000 crores. So fall in your current liabilities. Sorry.
So I was just trying to understand on that balance sheet page, what we saw in this example with this company is that their current assets are way higher than their current liabilities. And anyway, borrowings are negligible, about 18 crores. So yeah, the numbers are on our screen. Liabilities are around 4,380. And once we look at the borrowings and the assets, the total assets picture, borrowings is hardly anything, as Gurmeet also pointed out. And then we move to the assets. Assets are above 7,000 crores. So does this tell us that there is no reason to worry? Is this what makes it a healthy balance sheet, Gurmeet?
Absolutely, and just look at the shareholder equity part, which I was telling you that excess of assets over liabilities reflected in shareholder equity. Their employed equity is about 95 crores, and the other equity which they have added, which is your retained earning reserves, is 10,000 crores. So this business doesn't need capital. You've started with probably less than 100 crores. And you've added 10,000 crores to your retained earning and reserves. So that tells you that I'm generating high ROEs and ROCEs.
Okay.
Whatever I'm generating in terms of excess over my cost of capital.
Sure.
A bulk of that is getting reinvested.
Okay.
So whatever excess I'm generating, and we will see that in the cash flow statement and the P&L we do.
Absolutely.
Which means that if I'm generating,
I'm actually sorry I'm intervening because I want to cover the other statements as well, which are as important. We've done the balance sheet for this company. Now let's look at the profit and loss statement. That's a statement that we get on an annual basis and of course on a quarterly basis. So let's start with P&L. Now here, what will you look at? Revenue, will you look at other income or not look at other income? This is usually a bit of a confusing question mark for a lot of retail investors. What to look at in a P&L?
So you'll obviously start with revenue, Surbhi, because if you see and P&L in this case gives you a 3-year trend, right? 2018, 19, 20. If you see there is, despite March being a washout, for the year the operating income has gone up 4.5-5%, which is the top figure if you see on the P&L. And then you come to the the EBITDA number, you'll see the gross margins, the operating margins have picked up more than the top line. And when you go to the PAT number, when you add other income, you suddenly realize that the PAT has grown 25%, which is the original point I made. So they are increasingly adding more value.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the hallmark of a great franchise, that you increase your revenues and then you add more and more value. So to make a practical example, they sell paints from 20-30 rupees a litre to 800 rupees a litre.
And there's a lot of
the kind of value they are adding, on the products.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of cash being generated, getting redeployed, and that's creating the compounding machine which Asian Paints is over last 2 decades.
Okay, so got the example on the P&L. Now let's move to cash flows. And this is a statement, I mean, very frankly, I think very few of us look at, Gurmeet. Help us understand how to read cash flows properly. What kind of cash flows are there in a statement? And what's the big number that one should watch out for?
See, I think there are 3 breakups will be if you see in cash flow statement. One is from cash flows from your core operations, right, which is your business. That should steadily be, reflecting growth, because otherwise then there is something, missing in terms of your book profits and the cash flows you realize. Second is cash flow from financing activities. And third is cash flows from, your investing activities. So overall, if you see the overall cash flows, if you see for Asian Paints have actually gone up, which actually tells you that the company is healthy. It's turning around its inventory very, very well. It's taking care of its obligations. Working capital is being managed extremely well. And look at the total cash and cash equivalents. Start from the bottom on the cash flow. See what was the cash flow at last year and what's the cash flow at the end of the year. So here you start from the bottom. Other places we start at the top, right? Figuring out current assets, liabilities. Here you start from the bottom and you see what is the net cash change in the company. In Asian Paints, there could be an aberration, but if you recollect, they had parked 600 crores in distributor accounts to fight the pandemic.
Yeah.
They also released cash transfers to their painters and contractors.
Sure.
40,000 of them. Again, so I think those things tell you that how the cash flows are also being, put to work in case there is any change in cash.
I found that point very, very interesting, that start at the bottom of the cash flow. First, see what is cash and cash equivalents, how much money in the bank really with the company. Got that point. We have some queries also coming in, Gurmeet, so help us out over here. This is a question coming in from Jay Shankar. He's saying, what is meant by inventory in a balance sheet? And then he's saying, what about the concept of off-balance sheet items? What is off-balance sheet? Do assets and liabilities appear in an off-balance sheet format as well? Gurmeet?
Yeah, I think brilliant question. I think this is one question probably we'll address. So inventory, as you recollect, is your asset side in the balance sheet. It's the cost of goods you have produced, right? And so this is one red flag you have to be continuously monitoring. We have seen, so if you go to, for example, Asian Paints, I told you if you go back to the balance sheet of Asian Paints, you will realize there's not much change in the inventory. In fact, the inventory disclosures should be are top-notch standards. So they are also giving you cost of inventory goods. They are also giving you the purchased of finished goods or stock in trade. So I'll give you an example. See, we follow accrual accounting. So you will produce goods in a year. You may not sell everything in that year.
Okay.
Right, so that's just, if you see the P&L and balance sheet of Asian Paints, you will see a column called inventory cost, which basically tells you have produced more than what you have sold. And then there is purchase of stock in trade, which means that when the goods are sold, the cost which you debited earlier is added back.
Okay.
Right?
Got that.
So the disclosure standards, as I told you, is very high. So so you have to take note into, is there a rise in inventory? Is there a disproportionate rise in inventory? Because eventually inventory will have spoilage, it will have pilferage, there can be a loss in value. There is a famous example, if you recollect, Surabhi, of Nintendo. They had a lot of inventory of, their Game 3 Cube software, which actually became redundant in the next financial year.
Yeah.
And they had to incur huge losses.
Okay.
We saw example with Z, right? Their inventory being very high, right? So there's so many examples. So sharp rise in inventory is a red flag.
Okay, so the sharp rise in inventory can be a red flag. In fact, we want to know more about red flags, and I'll club this with another query that we've got from Varun Mehta. He's also keen on knowing what is this off-balance sheet concept? What do I have to watch out for? And he's saying, what factors tell you about the long-term growth and visibility of the business? Since we're short on time, Gurmeet, if you could take this question, tell us about this whole off-balance sheet red flag and any other red flags that we need to keep in mind while looking at a company's statements.
So as the name suggests, off-balance sheet are your liabilities and assets which are not on the balance sheet. You typically sometimes take risk, want to shelter your balance sheet and P&L by taking some risk on the subsidiary. Earlier, lease, operating lease used to figure off balance sheet, but the accounting standards changed. So let's pick an example. For example, let's pick up Britannia, for example. Britannia, if you recollect, a year and a half back, had some related party transactions where they had lent out money to, sister concerns, right? Which the street did not take very lightly. So on cash, if your cash balances are there in markets, but if you are, giving let's say a loan, to a subsidiary, or you're housing an asset in a subsidiary to ensure that you don't take the risk, that's an off-balance sheet item. Okay. Let's say an R&D tie-up you have done, right? That's an off-balance sheet item. You are, let's say, for example, securitizing your account receivables, right? That's an off-balance sheet item. So these are some of the red flags, and there are notes on the balance sheet which needs to be reviewed very, very carefully, where there are inter-party transactions, whether there is capitalization happening on any expenditure or on lease. That's something which one needs to take note of.
Okay, all right, Gurmeet, I guess that's a comprehensive, quick crash course in understanding company financial statements. Thank you very much for taking the queries and giving us the basics. Many thanks for joining in. Well, that's it on this week's edition of Smart Money. Thank you so much. Keep sending your questions, queries to us, and of course, we'll keep getting you more analysis and more experts in the coming weeks.